and birthdays and holidays, the chance to grieve together when my grandfather died last year. I'd cried alone while she wasn't even told he'd passed. Grandfather's funeral, I said suddenly. You didn't know? Mom's face crumpled. He died? When? Last December, cancer. It was quick. She sobbed then. Not just for the loss, but for missing the chance to say goodbye to the man who'd raised her. He loved you, I said. Even after everything. He'd ask about you sometimes. I think he knew something wasn't right. But grandmother always changed the subject. Did he suffer? No, he went peacefully. Dad said his last words were about hoping you were happy, wherever you were. We held each other while she grieved the father she'd lost twice. Once when she was forced to leave, and again when he died without knowing the truth. That afternoon, she took me to places she'd lived when I was little, places I barely remembered but that flooded back as we walked through them. The park where she'd taught me to swing, the ice cream shop where we'd go for special treats, the library where she'd read to me every Saturday morning. I come here sometimes, she admitted as we stood outside our old apartment building, just to remember when we were together. The building manager recognized her, Mrs. Chen, an elderly woman who'd always liked Mom. Is this little Violet? She asked, beaming. My goodness, you're beautiful. Your mother used to bring your picture to show me how you'd grown. She did? Every year on your birthday, she'd cry and tell me stories about what you must be doing, what you must look like. I always wondered why you never visited. Another person who'd known the truth but hadn't been able to help. I need to call Dad, I said that evening. Mom's face hardened. Violet, you should know. He remarried when you were 12. They had 2 kids. Boys. He replaced us both. I'm so sorry, baby. I never wanted this for you. The stepmother had seemed nice enough when I was growing up, but now I wondered what she knew. Had Dad told her the truth about Mom? Did she know she was helping raise a daughter stolen from her mother? I called Dad from Mom's kitchen, putting it on speaker so she could hear. Violet? It's early. Is everything okay? I'm in Oregon, I said, with Mom. The silence stretched so long I thought he'd hung up. Sweetheart, your mother is alive. I know. I found the letters. Another pause. You don't understand the whole story. Then tell me. But instead of explanations, he started making excuses. The custody battle had been expensive. I was better off with stability. Mom was unstable back then. They were protecting me. You let me grieve a living person for 15 years. We thought it was best. You thought it was convenient. Mom squeezed my hand, tears streaming down her face as she listened to him scramble for justifications. The affair was a mistake, he said. I was young and stupid. But your mother was going to destroy our family. You destroyed our family. I cut him off. You were the one cheating. You were the one who chose to lie instead of face the consequences. She was going to take you away from me. Because that's what happens when you betray your wife. You don't get to have both the affair and the family. I want to see you, Dad said finally. Come home and we'll talk. I am home, I said, looking around Mom's kitchen. I hung up. The phone rang immediately. Then again. Dad called 6 more times before I turned it off. That night, Mom showed me the legal documents she'd kept. Not just the custody papers, but everything. The restraining order. The psychological evaluation they'd forced her to undergo. The drug test she'd passed but that somehow got lost by the court. They had me evaluated by 3 different psychologists, she said. The first 2 said I was a fit mother. The third was a friend of your father's lawyer. The psychological evaluation from Dad's expert was devastating. It painted Mom as manipulative, unstable, and potentially dangerous to me. It recommended supervised visitation at best, full separation at worst. I kept copies of everything, she said. Even though my lawyer said it was over, I knew someday you might want to know the truth. The most painful document was her own handwritten statement. 12 pages of her side of the story that the court had refused to consider. In it, she detailed Dad's affair, his drinking, his increasingly controlling behavior. She documented dates, times, witnesses. She built a compelling case that the judge had ignored. Judge Morrison, I read from the file. I remember him. He and Dad played golf together. That's when I knew I'd lost, Mom said, when I saw them laughing together in the courthouse hallway. But the truly sickening part was what came after. The court documents showed that immediately after Mom signed away her rights, Dad had petitioned to seal the case. Everything we'd just read, the lies, the manipulation, the corruption, was supposed to be buried forever. He didn't want you to ever find out, Mom said, even when you became an adult. The next morning I called Mrs. Thompson. She was retired now but remembered me immediately. Violet, how are you, sweetheart? I found my mom, I said. The silence on her end was deafening. Oh, honey, she finally whispered. I'm so sorry. I tried to help but I didn't know how. You did help. More than you know. She told me her side of the story. How she'd noticed the change in me after Mom died. How I'd gone from a bright, confident child to a sad, withdrawn one almost overnight. You used to talk about your mother constantly, she said. She was your whole world. Then suddenly you wouldn't mention her at all. When I asked, you'd just say she was dead and change the subject. Why didn't you report it? I tried. I called the school counselor. Suggested maybe you needed help processing your grief. But your grandmother came in for a meeting and explained that you were seeing a therapist. That the family was handling it. There was no therapist? I know that now. But at the time, I had no reason to doubt her. She seemed genuinely concerned about you. Mrs. Thompson had spent years wondering if she'd failed me. She'd sent those updates to Mom not knowing if they helped, but hoping they meant something to someone who cared about me. Your mother sent me a Christmas card every year, she said, just to thank me for the photos. She never asked for more than I was comfortable giving, never put me in a position where I'd have to lie. She was always respectful. What did you think happened to her? Honestly, I thought your father had her killed. The casual way she said it shocked me. That sounds extreme, I said. Does it? A woman threatens to expose a man's affair and take his child. She has a history of prescription drug use that makes her vulnerable to accusations. She disappears completely, and suddenly there's a convenient car accident with a body that's never found. The body was found. I saw the newspaper clipping. Different woman. I looked it up years later when the internet made it easier. The woman who died in that accident was named Patricia Morrison. Married, no children. Nothing like your mother's situation. Even my second grade teacher had put together a better investigation than I had. That afternoon, Mom showed me the cemetery where I'd been visiting my grave. The headstone was real. They'd actually purchased a plot and stone with her name on it. The newspaper clipping? I asked. They used a real accident from the same day. Different woman, similar age. Your grandmother was always good with details. Is anyone buried here? No, it's an empty plot. We stood there looking at her fake grave, and I thought about all the times I'd cried there, begging her spirit to send me signs she was okay. I'm so angry, I told her. Good, she said. You should be. But she had her own anger to work through. 15 years of believing I hated her. 15 years of wondering if I was safe, if I was happy, if I even remembered her. Do you know what the worst part was? She asked as we drove back to her house. Tell me. Your 16th birthday. I spent the whole day imagining you getting your driver's license, going on dates, becoming the woman I'd never get to meet. That night I had a breakdown. David found me on the bathroom floor, sobbing uncontrollably. What happened? He held me while I cried, and then he said something that probably saved my life. He said, she's out there loving the memory of you, even if she thinks you're gone. That love doesn't disappear. Someday she'll understand. I thought about 16-year-old me, crying myself to sleep because I missed my dead mother, neither of us knowing the other was alive and grieving the same loss. I stayed in Oregon for 2 weeks. I met Mom's friends, who'd heard about me for years. Her best friend Carmen hugged me like she'd known me my whole life. Your mom has your baby pictures on her phone, Carmen said. She shows them to everyone. We all feel like we watched you grow up. I helped Leo with homework and learned he was obsessed with dinosaurs, just like I'd been at his age. I watched Mom and David together. They were genuinely happy, the kind of contentment I'd never seen in my father's house. David had his own way of making me feel welcome. He'd clear out his home office so I could have a quiet place to process everything. He'd cook my favorite foods. Somehow Mom had told him things I liked that I'd forgotten telling her when I was little. She never stopped being your mother, he said one evening as we cleaned dishes together. Even when she couldn't be with you, she never stopped loving you like one. I asked him about the years before I'd found them. She'd have good days and bad days, he said. Good days, she'd be hopeful. She'd talk about what she'd say when she saw you again, what she'd want to know about your life. Bad days, she'd be convinced you were better off without her. What changed? Leo. When I adopted him, watching her become his mom, she was so natural at it, so good. It made me realize how much had been stolen from both of you. The night before I was supposed to fly back, I made a decision. I want to stay. I told Mom, honey, you have a life. I have a job. That's not the same thing. I want to get to know you. And Leo, I want to be part of this family. She cried and held me like she was afraid I'd disappear again. I called my boss and quit, found a sublet in Portland, started working at a local art gallery while figuring out my next move. But staying meant confronting the rest of my family. Dad called constantly demanding I come home. Grandmother called crying, begging me to visit. I ignored them both. Then Uncle Pete called. Your father told me what happened, he said. I think you're making a mistake. You knew she was alive. Silence. Pete, you knew. You all knew. It was complicated. It was criminal. You helped them destroy evidence, falsify documents, commit fraud. We were protecting you. From what? From having a mother who loved me? He tried to justify it for 20 minutes. How Mom was unstable. How the family was just trying to do what was best. How I didn't understand the full situation. I understand that you're all liars, I said, and hung up. Aunt Linda tried next, then my cousins. Each call was the same, a mix of defensiveness and attempted manipulation. They'd minimized Mom's pain, justified their deception, and tried to convince me I was throwing away my real family for a fantasy. The worst was my cousin Beth, who I'd been close to growing up. She abandoned you, Violet, Beth said. Maybe not physically, but emotionally. A real mother would have fought harder. She did fight. Your family destroyed the evidence. You're being dramatic. You had a good childhood. You were loved and cared for, built on a lie. Sometimes lies protect people. Sometimes lies protect liars. After I hung up, I felt hollow. These people had been my world for 15 years. They'd celebrated my birthdays, attended my graduations, comforted me when I was sad, and all of it had been built on the foundation of keeping me from my mother. Then Dad showed up in Oregon. I was having coffee with Mom when I saw him through the window, standing on her front porch. She went rigid. You don't have to see him, she said. Yes, I do. He looked older, grayer. When Mom opened the door, he stared at her like he was seeing a ghost. You look good, he said quietly. What do you want? Mom asked. To talk to my daughter. I'm listening, I said from behind Mom. We sat in the living room, the same room where I'd learned the truth 2 weeks earlier. Dad looked around at the photos of me covering the walls, the evidence of 15 years of love from a distance. I never meant for it to go this far, he said. How far did you mean for it to go? I asked. He couldn't answer that. I was young and stupid. I made mistakes. You destroyed our family because you couldn't keep it in your pants. Mom flinched but didn't defend him. She was going to take you away from me, Dad said. Because you were cheating on her. I know I hurt your mother, but I couldn't lose you too. So you made sure she lost me instead. That's when he broke down. Not the manipulative tears I'd seen him use when he wanted something, but real, ugly sobbing. I regret it every day, he gasped. Especially after I met your stepmother. Watching her with our boys, seeing what a real mother looks like, I realized what I'd taken from you. And from her, I said, gesturing to Mom. I tried to find her when you turned 18. To tell